From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by Dax IT.
Thank you for attending our talk today about OpenMCP. At first, we want to introduce ourselves. So I'm Alfred, I'm tech lead for cloud platforms, and I'm developing integrated internal development platforms and for several customers. And on my side today is
Steffen. I'm Steffen. I'm principal software architect. I'm a principal software architect and cloud evangelist at SAP, and I'm doing way too much stuff.
Yeah. So our today's agenda is where we came from, the time before, platform engineering, a short introduction to internal developer platforms, how we created our internal developer platform at 2019 as we started, and about the typical issues we have to solve in this time, and hopefully how, when we involve our platform, how we can use OpenMCP for the rescue. And this will present you Steffen. So, where I came from. So it was starting at 2015. It was also the birthday of Kubernetes. And we had a new project. And as I came into, we had the typical things in that time. We had many fragmented tools. We had a high cognitive load because you had to know so much things from the IDE, from the stagings, how operations works, and so on. And this has all to be done by the developers. And that led to slow and inconsistent deployments. I don't know how often it was, but we ran several times into big troubles when it was deployed, and not only one time. So it was in dev, in int, in pre-prod, in production, and a real mess. Yeah, and it was introduced by the ticket ops culture we had in the past, because they all try to, if we write good enough tickets, the operations will work, but it didn't. Yeah, and this led also to lack of self-service, and the troubles was due to the siloed responsibilities. So the productivity was very low in this time. So we had about, if it was good, 1 to 3 releases in a year. And the most innovation the developers did was to fiddling around to find workarounds for the ops processes. And in 2019, I had all these things in my mind, and we started a new project on Kubernetes. Yay! And we said, oh, we never want to do it in the way like it was in the past. So we started to think about an internal developer platform. And here we combine all the tools which the developers need to build, deploy, run the infrastructure and the applications. And we wanted that they get out of this high load introduced due to ticket ops. And to reach this goal, we got the CNCF landscape, and we picked some tools out of them to solve some things. And the first thing we wanted to solve was we wanted to get rid of the push pipelines, because every time we had a pipeline running and the pipeline was deploying things in Kubernetes, and we had drift. And we wanted to move this to GitOps. So we decided to use Argo CD. And so we wrote deployment script in Helm. We need to get TLS certificates for the web interface, because we don't want warnings that introduce the TLS cert warning. And this was ticket bingo again. And we had to configure secrets to access protected Git repositories. And the secrets were put in manually. And what has to be done when the secrets have to be changed? Yeah, and also update versions and so on. So that's the Argo CD. And as you see, we took another thing to solve our troubles with the ticket ops for certificates, but the task to-dos are nearly the same. So we wrote some code for the deployment, we created the Argo CD project for it, we configured the secrets for Let's Encrypt, and we had to do updates. But what we gained was the developers are now able to retrieve their certificates like they need in a GitOps way. That was the gain. And also, the next thing, we need security. We have secrets, all the things. And they said, oh, it's enough if you put them in with kubectl. And we said, oh no, we don't want to do this. So you change outside the Git password or the Git SSH key, and then we get a ticket to put in new secrets. How should that work? Or for databases, yeah, we put in the secret, and the database has the new secret, but what about the applications? So we choose an external secrets operator and put it together, writing Helm files and so on, created with Argo CD, and it's all the same. But the developers don't need to do these things. So, and another thing we introduced, because we had our platform in on-premise and in cloud solutions, and we had to connect the on-premise to the cloud. And here was the biggest drift, because the ops team did ClickOps in the cloud, and we had to do tickets and things to get S3 buckets, to get a Confluent Kafka, to get a Vault or a Harbor, or all the things. And to have some fun, they changed configurations, and our pipelines broke, and all the thing was going down. So we were very happy to see that it is solved with Crossplane, because there you put in the resources in the Kubernetes cluster. Every developer see what is wanted, and yeah, Crossplane creates the things, and all the things changed by ClickOps are rolled back. Yeah, and these are the typical issues. So we had to change existing pipelines, which are pushing things to the pull pattern. We had to connect the external resources. We had to manage certificates, and we had multiple deployments to do similar things. This means code got duplicated. And the glue code on the right side, they increased and increased and increased, and the developers said, oh, of the IDP, oh, so much code, and we don't know how to handle this, and this glue code, oh, it's not in a good condition anymore. But what was our intention? We wanted to lower the maintenance effort on standard platform engineering tasks, and now it increased. And we wanted also to reduce the costs and risks, and now we have increased costs and risks by maintenance. And that I had a talk with Steffen, and he introduced OpenMCP to me, and hopefully this is the chance to put our platform into a better shape now.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm going to introduce you to OpenMCP, and MCP does not stand for Model Context Protocol. So please stay. It stands for Managed Control Plane, so to say. So, yeah. So let's assume we are David, who is a member of a central DevOps team. And we are in charge of provisioning and orchestrating cloud resources for a couple of very, very important cloud products. There is a new flagship product, which is an AI-powered mobile app with the name Virtual Sliced Bread version 2.0. And, of course, our CEO requests us on a Friday morning to deploy this new flagship product to production, because on Tuesday he has a demonstration on the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference. I know it's a pretty similar, easy use case you all experienced at least once in a lifetime. So, because this app really uses personal data and we really want to be in control of which LLM to use, because we only want to order and to store our data at our compliant vendor, this might be a little bit tricky. So let's have a look at the architecture itself. Of course, we need a Kubernetes workload cluster where our containerized application API is living on, and our, as you could saw in the use case, nearly godlike AI processor is being hosted around. Then we need depending services like a PostgreSQL database from a compliant vendor only. And let's have a look at how the setup would look like without OpenMCP. First, of course, we would need to create a cluster via kubectl or via cluster API. Then, after it is provisioned and it's ready, we need to deploy our workload via Helm CLI or customize Q or KCL or whatnot. Then, of course, we need to provision our database via GCP API or maybe even via ClickOps or ticketing system. Then, of course, initializing the database with the SQL CLI for the schemas and also for the initial data load. And last but not least, of course, we need to create everywhere credentials, service accounts, and so on, so that every component can talk to each other, authenticate, authorize with each other to work in an automated fashion way. And as you already see here, there are many, many tools involved. We have a lot of media breaks. And this rather easy use case here is already complex. Of course, manual or semi-manual tasks are very error-prone, and they're very time-intensive. And to be honest, I didn't even speak about day 1 or day 2 operations yet. So let's have a look how OpenMCP can come to the rescue. Our managed control plane is, of course, a Kubernetes cluster where we are installing Crossplane and a couple of Crossplane providers on. With the shoot YAML, we talk to open source Gardener, which is in charge of provisioning and orchestrating and managing all of our workload clusters. And with the shoot YAML, we can instruct Gardener to create a new workload cluster. On this workload cluster, we then install via the Helm provider, the Helm files, or via customize, etc., our workload. With a vendor provider, we are then able to request a PostgreSQL database at our compliant vendor, and then, of course, initializing the schemas and also the initial data itself. So now you can already see that David has really simplified and unified the whole developer experience. He only needs to access to the managed control plane itself via kubectl or any other kube API compatible tooling. The entire stack is, of course, in code in the KRM, and because Crossplane providers are Kubernetes operators, they are implementing the reconciler pattern, so therefore they are self-healing. Now we have really a software and cloud landscape that is reviewable and also revertible. But how do teams actually now order a managed control plane, you might ask? For that, we have internally an onboarding API, which is just really also a Kubernetes cluster. A developer or teams can connect to the onboarding API via kubectl or any other compatible kube API tooling, And with this easy to understand manifest, you can see order a new managed control plane. As you can see here, we have our desired region to say, we have our desired components, which Crossplane version and provider we want. Also, we also want to enable out of the box the identity provider. And last but not least, of course, who has access to this managed control plane. Then the onboarding API provisions a new managed control plane cluster and is installing and managing all of those components that we have requested on it. In the last step, a kubeconfig will be published and be available for the developer or for the teams so they can access the managed control plane itself. So let's look at the components that I just quickly introduced to you and why we are choosing them for a managed control plane. We choose Crossplane because we really wanted to stay confident as our desired cloud landscape is defined in code and its state is continuously observed. Because, as I said, Crossplane providers are really Kubernetes controllers. We have the reconciliation loop and they're detecting drifts and try to apply our desired state to make it happen into the actual state at the service provider. Then having all of the Kubernetes manifests in our managed control plane is nice, but to be honest, we really want to use GitOps. Therefore, we are using Flux, and we're moving our Kubernetes manifests into code repositories, into Git code repository, because we really want to stay in full control of our cloud landscape state files. Now, with Git, we have a history of change of our managed resource definitions, which are also revertible if shit goes down. And also, every change is now reviewable and also validated throughout PRs. Now, SAP is quite big, and we have a lot of security and product standards, of course. And to enforce a couple of those security and product standards, we are using Kyverno because it makes us to write policies, again, in code in a declarative way. And Kyverno is then also enforcing those rules on our managed control plane itself. So these policies really try to prevent undesired behavior or configuration on an MCP. Of course, we also have a lot of credentials flying around because each of those components need to talk to each other. Therefore, we have the external secrets operator because it is really a great tool to manage, rotate, audit, transform all of your secrets. ESO is really able to pull and push from many credential stores, and we are able to, it is just doing a really good, great job. I like ESO. And what you see now there, Crossplane, Flux, Kyverno, ESO, etc., these are just one pre-bundled MCP setup for ourselves. Your setup might look like completely different, and that's totally okay. You can exchange Flux for Argo CD or for Kyverno for Open Policy Agent, for example, or might even exchange Crossplane for something else that you like. OpenMCP is easily extendable to your needs, so please bear in mind this is really just for us, that works great for us, and OpenMCP do not care which components it maintains, which component it orchestrates. It's really just a framework for you to manage your managed control planes in an automated, seamlessly fashion way. And what about now platform engineering? We eat our own food. We are using OpenMCP for that. So within MCP, you can use a Kubernetes provider to connect to the onboarding API, and via the onboarding API, you can then instruct it to create new managed control planes, which then other teams can use. And the really nice thing is here that we really speed up our development teams because we provide them with a pre-configured managed control planes tailored to the needs of the project, of the business, and of the organization itself. This really allowed to focus our internal teams, and hopefully soon your teams, to really focus on building the application, building the business logic and services. This really killed ramp-up time because our MCPs comes with connected already to our company OCI registry, company IDP, and writes company to our company audit log service. So not every team needed to do this effort by themselves again and again and again. We also ship with pre-configured best of breed open source toolings like external secrets operator, Crossplane, and Kyverno, and many more. Internally, we also have a couple of user guidance, so to showcase all the teams that are interested, how each of those components can be configured, can be plug and played into one holistic DevOps process, so they do not need to reinvent the wheel completely new. This also really helped to speed up things to make them enable and make them happy. Of course, we also have policies to prevent any misconfiguration via Kyverno. Now, let's rewind. David, it is now Friday after lunch. David now has really, with the help of OpenMCP and the managed control plane, has set up everything. He's done. His entire stack, everything is in code. It's self-healing, so that means even if the CEO goes on Monday onto the managed control plane and change anything last minute, it will revert it back and everything will work, so David is not the one to be blamed. So that means really David is now able to join his colleagues and is able to attend the happy hour at the bar and drink margaritas with the colleagues. And if you also want to attend and join happy hour, I really dare you to find one Crossplane provider of your choice and automate a couple of your manual tasks and your workflow. Everything that I showed you now is already open source or will be open source. We are in the process of open sourcing everyone. The documentation might be a little bit thin on one side or another. And so please subscribe, stay with us. You know, big company, very huge compliancy, publishing processes, and so on. So please visit github.com, OpenMCP project, or have a look at that. And for that, we are finished. Thanks again, Alfred, a lot for your insights, for sharing your journey. I think we all have encountered that, and any feedback or questions, please let me know. Write to me, and I'm eager to hear your stories, your challenges. Thanks a lot.
So, why is this approach better than using Terraform?
We did not say that it's better than Terraform. So Terraform is there because you have some special requirements to your needs. If you want to use Terraform, then please use Terraform. With Crossplane, of course, you can use Upjet in order to convert a Terraform provider into a Crossplane provider nearly automatically. So it is just what you need. If you have everything built on Terraform, please continue to do that. There are some capabilities or some shortcomings or advantages for Terraform, for Crossplane. You need to figure out by yourself what you want to do. We have very good experience with Crossplane. We think we have much more advantage with Crossplane, but there's no one size fits all.
Yeah. And what we saw with Terraform is, in Terraform, the team always thought about how to get away from from drift, so drift detection, because you do something in Terraform and it is applied. And the GitOps team or the ClickOps team from the operations clicks things inside your database. And then you have to find out a way how to do this detection, that the configuration is not the truth anymore, because you are drifted from the checked-in thing to the real thing. And with Upbound, Crossplane, you have a reconciliation loop, which always checks, is the infrastructure the same as the infrastructure it was checked in? And that was the advantage. And the developers are used to implement YAML because they are Kubernetes developers. And Terraform has its own language, and not every Kubernetes developer likes to learn Terraform.
Why not to use the Kubernetes resource orchestrator, Crow, or Crossplane compositions for the job?
Okay, Crow, I would like to see Crow talk to a service provider and spin up your clusters. So please come to me, show me that. I did not know that, that Crow was able to do that. Crossplane composition, so these are basically just templating or the smart data pipelining compositions functionality in order what your Kubernetes manifest outcome will be. I have a little bit strong feeling about cross-plane compositions. It might tend to shoot yourself in the foot. I like more Crow, but we see it to a great way of tooling to add it to your managed control plane in order to do really nice transformations of your data as you need it.
Yeah.
Last question for now. Why not using Gardener extensions? I heard some are doing similar things with it.
Please come to me. I would also like to hear that. We are reusing Gardener. Of course, we are running on a Gardener shoot cluster, so to say. I would like to hear your idea how all of that could be a Gardener extension. Good. And?
Any one last question in the audience? 3, 2,
It's lunchtime.
1. It's lunchtime.
It's lunchtime.
Thanks a lot for the talk. A round of applause for our speaker.
Thank you.
From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.